Excited to have you on to talk about Elite Amateur Fight League. Return finally. Been over a year and a half. So appreciate you being on the show. We're talking to Jesse Nunez, who is the president of Elite Amateur Fight League, and they have their big event upcoming, Steel City Showdown, on June 5th. If you haven't, get your tickets. Everything is limited, but I don't know if there's tickets still available. But if there are, this is going to be a hell of a show. Valenti Atsas versus Alexander Keka is going to be the main event. 170-pound amateur title is on the line. Justin Lorovich, who is a highly touted amateur lightweight, 6-1, a Midwest Training Center, against Antonio Noel. He's fighting out of Indiana. He's going to be taking on, they're going to be taking each other on for the 155-pound title as well. So it's going to be an exciting night of fights. Great to have you on again, Jesse. Elite Amateur Fight League. You guys have been doing fights all over the country, but the team versus team concept is going to start again in this next season. Right here.
Yeah, man, we're excited to be back, brother. It's been a little bit of a wait. Our last event was scheduled for March 23rd of 2020, and we all know what happened at the start of March, right? So we've just been really gearing up to get everything restarted. In the meantime, I'm making a lot of connections on the OTT side of things, a lot of digital channels. We're going to be broadcasting all of our fights on different digital channels, including Facebook Live, Fubo TV, Pluto TV, Clash TV. And then, we have always had our partner with NBC Sports Regional Networks, and we'll be working with them again. So I'm just really excited to get these young amateurs back in the cage, get them the exposure they deserve. Just get back to work, man. We're just happy to get back to work.
Definitely. And, talk about the titles that are on the line. Usually Elite Amateur Fight League was a team versus team concept, but now you're bringing in title belts before the teams can come together, because this will be more like a team building event, right?
Yeah, so we're scouting, right? We're looking for the new talent to put on the amateur teams. A lot of the amateurs that were right on the cusp before COVID have decided to go pro because of this break. So we're in more of a team building mode, right? So we need to find those up and coming amateurs to build our state teams up, and that's what these events will do for us. We got 2 title fights, Midwest title fights here on this next card. Alexander Keka taking on Valenti Atsas out of Indiana. That one's going to be a banger. Both of those guys like to show up and go at it, and just really, really happy that we're able to get these 2 guys some cage time, right? Because they're both there. They're both on that cusp of going pro, and they got to shake that ring rust off, before they get there. So giving these 2 guys an opportunity to face off against guys that are just as capable as themselves is really important, and we're really happy to do it.
Yeah, that's a great 170-pound. In fact, the last time Elite Amateur Fight League, the last fight of the last event was Atsas. He was taking on Tyler Scott in the main event for 170-pound title as well. So, and I just stopped by Dominion MMA and saw Tyler Scott this past weekend. So, he's excited for Elite Amateur Fight League too. And
Tyler went pro, and he's doing great things, so they created that belt. Valenti's right in line to go back after that belt, and, we're really excited for him, and we're excited for Tyler Scott going pro. I mean, he's done a great job moving on up the ranks. We always like to see our guys that have competed for us in the past move on and do good things.
Yeah, we also got to talk to Richard Napier, who's taking on Jimmy Hart as well. That Elite Amateur Fight League, so that should be fun, and we'll get that interview out soon.
Yeah, excited for that one too. Jimmy likes to bring the fire. We know Richie's always down for a fight. I really think that one's going to be an exciting fight. Jimmy Hart out of that Joliet area here in Illinois, and then Richie coming in from a little bit further out. Again, getting these guys exposure, man, getting them in the cage and getting them that opportunity to fight was really important for the Midwest scene right now. He really had Iowa operating, and everybody was going out there to fight. And I'm glad they had the opportunity to fight out there during this break, but not everybody could travel. Not everybody can take corners with them. Not everybody was training full speed and ready to go. With Illinois and Indiana opening up and things shaking loose here, just really excited to get these young athletes opportunities to compete.
Yeah, I want to know, how did the COVID-19 affect Elite Amateur Fight League? Because I know it was a publicly traded company. I'm not sure if it still is. Did that have a negative effect, or what had happened?
Right. So, initially the COVID-19 pandemic had a negative effect on our league, right? It canceled our live events. We were getting ready to start up season 4. We had a ton of traction. We were going up to 12 teams, possibly 16 teams, the way things were going. Opportunities to broadcast on all the NBC Sports Regional Networks, OTT opportunities. Everything was looking up. We had fully stocked teams ready to go. And then COVID-19 happens and kind of cancels that whole season. After that immediate effect, and it was negative, right at the start, after dealing with that, because I've never canceled an event in my life. that's not my thing, you know.
Right.
Deep down inside, it bothered me. But after I came to terms with that and realized, hey, there was nothing I could possibly do to make this event happen. There's nothing that we did wrong at the Fight League, nothing anybody did wrong. If they're canceling the NCAA basketball tournament, they're probably going to cancel your event, right? So after I got through that, we just started, well, what can we do during this downtime to make our league better? Just really got into the nuts and bolts of making the league better, making the right contacts on the broadcast side of things, improving our media team, growing our production team, talking and meeting with the right people, really diving into social media and putting a lot of content out there from past events, promoting anybody who could get a fight that once fought for us, right? Some of those guys were traveling with LFA and fighting that had fought for us in the past. So really making sure everybody knew those guys were still active. All that stuff started building momentum that we possibly wouldn't have had if we were just going right into the next season, right? We wouldn't have had those meetings. We wouldn't have met those people. We wouldn't have had a chance to promote some of these guys that fought for us in the past. And that whole momentum building really helped propel us into this next season. So I guess the answer is it was an immediate negative effect, but once we got rolling and figuring out what we could improve during COVID, it really gave us some time to grow. On the investor side of things, it is, I guess, a publicly traded company, but not on the stock exchange.
Right.
It's equity crowdfunding, meaning anybody can invest in our company to own equity. When you're investing in a bigger company, you've got to be an accredited investor, have an accredited investor profile and be able to invest a lot of money into a company to get in, on that first step. With equity crowdfunding, we're really looking to build our league with fans who want to become owners. For as little as $300, you can invest in our company, become an owner, and then, get rewarded when we do well and we have dividend payouts or we sell off a team or something like that. We're going to reward the people who support our sport, which are the fans. I don't want big business moguls and big time celebrities owning my company. They're rich enough. I want the people who support MMA to be rewarded by investing in our company. And that's really our goal.
So you didn't have to worry about like the stock market plummeting. That didn't have any effect on your...
No effect at all.
Okay. The people who did invest will have to wait a little bit longer for your returns, but obviously you guys are going to have a huge schedule planned out. Steel City Showdown, I assume, is just the first one of the year.
Yeah, we're going to go through 2021 building teams. So we're going to have some events where, we're just scouting a lot of the amateur athletes to start building up these teams. The team versus team tournament probably won't launch until 2022, but we're hoping to get back into the 12-team format that we wanted to do this next season. If things go really well, we'll get into 16 teams. We have a lot of interest in a lot of states of guys submitting team rosters, but we want to make sure we can grow properly and be able to do things the right way. We know, our plans were for a 12-team tournament, and we know we can handle that. So going to 16 might be a little too soon, but if it all works out, or we get a giant sponsor that wants to support us, we may go up to 16 teams this next tournament.
Definitely, and I'm sure you're excited. Elite Amateur Fight League, you guys added a lot of women to your fights, to your teams, and we had exciting results, from 2019. So, talk about keeping that tone. You still got women that are fighting, including Abby Ewing against Nicole Glazik. That should be an exciting fight, both from reputable gyms as well.
Yeah, it was really exciting to have the females compete in our league. The crowd was way into it, and they were some of the best fights that we had all year were some of the female fights. So after seeing that, there's no doubt that we wanted to return females to the roster. The only challenge is sometimes states don't have an ample supply of females to compete against. So Indiana versus Virginia, or Illinois versus Virginia, they had 2 females. Then the next time out against Arizona, we didn't have any females to be able to compete on the team. So that's just a little bit of a challenge. As the sport progresses and as more females get into the sport, I'm sure that ship will right itself. But yeah, we're really excited to have the females on the roster. We're just hoping we can always have a matchup for them with every team versus team event.
Definitely. And does the fighters have to be like from the state, or could they be training at a gym in that state?
Yeah, you either got to be living in or training in the state that you represent.
Okay.
So if you're training in an Illinois gym and you're from right across the border in Indiana, you could represent Illinois or Indiana, but probably Illinois because you're training in that gym. But regionally, we, in our region, that Illinois-Indiana hook, that's kind of the same region, right? So it's tough to divide up the Illinois-Indiana split there sometimes. Because like me, I live in Northwest Indiana, but I work in Chicago, right? So am I Illinois or am I Indiana? So we kind of just have to make, a decision on which state they'll represent at that point. And as we progress, we may not even have state teams. We may have regional teams, right? Like instead of being the Illinois and Inferno, it might be the Chicago Inferno, and everybody in the region can be on the Chicago team. We've got to figure that out. Right now, it's still state versus state, team versus team. It may end up being team versus team, not necessarily with state representation.
I got you. That sounds interesting. I could definitely see it going from there, especially when you add these title belts. Hopefully they'll continue as well, the individual title belts.
Yep. Yeah.
So
And the title belts are going to be exciting, man, because
yeah.
We operate all over the country. So the titles that are up for grabs in this event are the Midwest titles. When we go down to Florida, it'll be the Southern titles. And we go over to Arizona, it'll be the Western titles, right? So we're going to have different champions from different areas of the country that competing in that national tournament against each other to kind of unify those belts, which will be really cool.
Definitely. And then you see, mixed martial arts, it may be steps closer to being accepted in the Olympics one day, and how crucial like your format would be. And maybe in them deciding how to create a team versus team concept.
Absolutely. And I'd love to see it, end up an Olympic sport. I mean, it's the fastest growing sport in the world. In my opinion, it's the most exciting sport in the world. I understand, it can be violent at times by the nature of the sport, but so is football. And, sometimes so is boxing and so is wrestling, right? We just got to get over that hump and realize that these young men and women are true athletes training at the highest level all over the world. So why shouldn't it be accepted as an Olympic sport? That's just my take on it. I'd love to see it happen.
Yeah, me too. I think it's exciting, and maybe they'll be looking towards you, Jesse, for some help on that.
I've got my plate full, but I'd love to chime in if they ever ask me.
Yeah, definitely. I know that's what I see. They'll probably look to see who's done this before, and obviously we had the IFL prior to you, and then what you're doing as well. But
IFL was a bit different, right? Because those are pro, right? And
right.
And as a professional athlete, I get it. Nobody wants to be on a team as a pro inside combat sports. They want to be the best pound for pound champion. It didn't make a whole lot of sense on the professional end of things to have a team. But on the amateur side of things, it makes a lot of sense, right? Mm-hmm. You get those kids that are the 5-1, 7-1 guys in a location where they can't find a fight, but yet there's another 7 or 5-2 guy in another state that has the same issue. Why not match them? And that's what we're the best at. We're the best at getting these top level fights for these guys who can't find any more amateur fights in their region. And we make sure we try to match those guys with like talent and give them those opportunities to shine.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm excited for the other fight. You have Gabriel Arroyo, Alex Rigo. They've had a lot of experience in the amateur division or the flyweight division, so that'd be exciting with their records.
Yeah, and both those guys are exciting fighters, right? And we've seen them compete here regionally. It's just a matter of time before they matched up against each other. And they're both from great gyms, and just really excited to get them some opportunities to compete. And that's one where I'm looking at like, hey, who's going to be on Team Illinois between these two guys, right?
Right.
They're at the same weight. I can only have one. So maybe this is the deciding factor.
And talk about doing this event outdoors. What do you expect are the challenges? But what do you think is going to be beneficial as well?
I was always against doing an outdoor event from the get, right? We live in the only outdoor event that I've ever been a part of was in Arizona because I knew it wasn't going to rain, right? So here in the Midwest, it's always a chance that you're going to get some bad weather. I'm not a big fan of outdoor events, but with the COVID-19 pandemic happening and being able to have a safe environment for fighters and spectators, outdoor made a lot of sense, right? You're outside, we get bigger capacity in an outdoor area with fresh air. It made a lot of sense to do this event outside this summer to keep everybody safe. We've got a 40-foot, professional box truss light rig with 98 lights like we always do. But above that, we're putting a 40-foot by 40-foot professional stage canopy to try to cover the surface from rain. In the case of a small storm or light rain, it won't stop the action if we have the fight surface covered, right? So those are some, the challenges right off the bat for me are just weather, right? Having a show in a venue that's a stadium or a bigger venue isn't anything new to us. We've been having our shows in big venues from the get because, we just like to put on a great show, and those bigger venues have the opportunity to give you that aura of being at an event, So we've always done that. This ballpark that we're at, it's in Gary, Indiana. It's the Railcats Stadium. Gary gets a lot of bad press. There's not a lot of nice things people say about Gary, but this ballpark is state of the art, man. This ballpark is phenomenal. It's clean. It's safe. It's just one of the best minor league ballparks that I've seen in the area. When we did the walkthrough and we started talking about having an event there, it was just a no-brainer. It's going to be an outdoor, safe event in a state-of-the-art ballpark with a nice big capacity for people to come and watch. So we're really excited about that.
Definitely. And talk about some of the precautions are required to take for this. And I'm sure that's expensive as well, both for the talent, the fighters, and the talent and, who's ever working the event and the fans.
Right. Well, and really the expense falls on the promoter. And with the current rule set in Indiana, we're required to give everybody a COVID test that's participating, whether it be a corner, a coach, a cameraman, a staff member. They all need to have a COVID-19 test and be proven negative within 4 days of the event. So that's costly. They have a vaccine. They don't have to take the test, but the vaccine, they've got to prove that they're fully vaccinated. And so that helps a little bit, and then just all the precautions inside the stadium, inside the locker rooms, masks and sanitizing equipment, and cleaning things up all the time. I mean, we always kept a nice clean fighting surface, a nice clean cage, and a nice clean locker room. But now, we have to disinfect everything every time someone moves into a different area. Some new rolling on the mat, we're going to have to clean the mat off. That kind of thing. So there's a lot of things we need to do to make sure we keep things safe. I get it. I want to keep guys safe. I want to make sure we're not the cause of anything bad.
Sure.
And if that's the small cost of being able to have an event again, we're all for it. Let's do it.
Definitely. Do you know if are you the first event to be back in Indiana, or has there been other MMA events there?
There's been some other stuff, some smaller stuff up in
Okay.
Fort Wayne. There's something small going on, I think the week before
Okay.
as well, but nothing on the scale that we do, obviously. We're always finding big venues, bright lights, big fights. That's how we roll.
Yes.
It's not going to be a cage under a canopy with no lights,
Right.
It's going to be a show. It's like we
For
always
sure.
do. And if you look at our social media, man, our social media has been growing. We do a lot of work to make sure we promote the fighters and promote the matchups. And, we do interviews in the studio. We bring the fighters in. Like, we do as much as we possibly can to get these young men and women exposure that they deserve. They're putting in the time and the work in their fight camps to come prepared and put on a great show. But the other half of it is growing their fan base, right?
Right.
For them to move on in the professional ranks and have some value, they've got to come in with some sort of fan base. And that's what we really do well at the Elite Amateur Fight League. We make sure we give these guys interviews. We get them prepared to know how to have interviews and conduct interviews and what to say. There's not a lot of promoters out there on the amateur side doing this, even on the pro-am side, right? They post one poster and say, hey, here's the fight. And that's about the extent of the promoting. Maybe two posters, maybe one more at Fight Week, right? And that's not what we do, man. I mean, that's really just the lazy way out, in my opinion. They're not really fight promoters. They're more event organizers than anything. But we're promoters, man. We're media guys. We're promoters. We make sure everybody knows about the fight. We do all the work to make sure that these guys get the best exposure possible.
Definitely. Yeah. I think I'm very impressed, especially like when we look at the appearance, like the uniforms and how everything's arranged. It looks top notch,
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. It looks really good. I mean, when the fighters are wearing those outfits, you could tell like they stand out.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we've done our graphics team's done a great job with logos and all that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, there's going to be no team event this time out, but we will have gear. If you want a shirt, we'll have the Illinois Inferno gear there. We'll have the
nice.
Immortals gear there. We'll have some Elite Amateur Fight League merchandise. So I have a little merchandise stand up at the top of the concourse. So yeah, if you guys like the uniforms, they'll be available at the fight.
Well, yeah, of course. The fighters will have to earn their stripes to get on the team, right?
they got to earn their stripes to get the team uniform with the team. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it'll be exciting, and obviously you didn't even hold the for the previous season. I don't think you even held the team building events in the area. You held them in a different.
Yeah, we did some in out on the West Coast, just matchmaking. And I'll be honest, that third season we went into, we had so much interest and had teams ready to go. Like they were good. Mm-hmm. And going into season 4, we were the same way. We had teams that were locked in and ready to go for season 4, but then COVID happened, right? And when COVID happened, all those guys that were locked in, I would say half the team decided to go professional, all over the country because they had that big break and layoff, and they were on the cusp of going anyways. So, a lot of them decided to move on, or maybe they're saying, I'm going to shake the rust off with one fight before I go pro. And if you're in the tournament, you're going to fight 2 or 3 times if you move on in the tournament. So, for us, really, right now, it's finding that next generation of guys that will fill the teams.
Oh yeah, it makes total sense. Well, I appreciate you, Jesse, again being on the Fightlete Report. Check out Elite Amateur Fight League Steel City Showdown. We'll post the info on this podcast, how they can get tickets, and of course, you should let them know as well how they can be a part of this event.
Absolutely. So if you go to the Gary Railcats website or you go to eTix, search Steel City Showdown, There are still some tickets available, but if you're not able to get to the fight or buy a ticket, because I think we will sell out this event, you can watch on our Facebook subscribers page on Facebook Sports. So just go to our Facebook page, click be a supporter, and you'll have access to the live event with full production right there. Yeah, man, we're really excited to get this content out to all the fans, give these amateurs great exposure, give them the experience that they need, out there in the cage, and we're ready to roll, brother.
Okay, we're excited. I want to get your thoughts on some other fights coming up. Like, who do you have between Adesanya and Vettori at UFC 263?
I'm a big Adesanya fan. I really am. I know his last fight wasn't his greatest fight. Big fan of Adesanya. I think he's going to come back and take that fight.
And then, of course, Mayweather and...
You won't get my opinion on that fight, because that's not a fight, man. That's not a fight. And as much as many people will watch it, I'm sure it's going to have great fanfare, and I'm sure it's going to break box office numbers or whatever's going to happen. Yeah. But come on, man, those kids are YouTubers.
Yeah.
If they want to get into boxing game, they should earn their stripes and do it the right way.
For sure. Well, I appreciate you, Jesse. Make sure to check out Elite Amateur Fight League. Post the website. We'll post all the information, how you can watch it as well. I appreciate you being on the Fight Report. Best of luck to you. I know it's going to be a crazy event. It's going to be a fun event for you guys. I hope you pull it off very well.
Thanks, brother. One of the matchups I'm really excited about is Lovrich versus Antonio Noel. Both of those guys, man, they're up and comers. They're very exciting fighters. You've probably seen them fight on the local circuit before. I mean, that's going to be a matchup that I think everybody needs to come out and watch.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Lovrich, he's been doing that Midwest Training Center, and he's been collecting amateur belts as well from XFO. So I'll be very excited for that one. Noel is a tough guy as well, and he trains with a great team out there in Indiana.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah, cool. So should be an exciting one. You have a prediction, or?
I don't ever predict my own fights.
No, yeah, I don't blame you, man. I don't actually predict any local.
I'm not picking anybody. My goal is to make sure it's an exciting, fair matchup, evenly matched, and I think this is one of those kind of fights.
Yeah, I see. I keep forgetting the gym Noel is from, because I wanted to go out there. Team Cologne. Yeah, because I was supposed to go out there with those guys last year and do some coverage at their gym. So I'll be paying attention, and maybe I'll go down there and get an interview if Noel gets a win.
And some news about Team Cologne. They just moved into a brand new facility, bigger, better than before. I mean, not that their last gym was fantastic, but they just keep on growing. They keep on building their farm there. They've got a stock full of guys that are competitors and active on the scene. So I'm really excited to work with them.
Definitely. I appreciate you, Jesse, being on the Fight Report today, and best of luck. Going to be a hell of event.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah. I hope it goes well, and I'll be watching from online as well.
Awesome. Talk to you soon, bro.
Take care.
Bye.
Sean Lennon here, host of the Fight Report. Make sure to check out Mayweather versus Paul. We'll be hosting the Fightlete Report special remote podcast live at Mullen, 7301 Northwestern Avenue. No cover. Fights begin at 7 p.m. Remote podcast starts 8 p.m. And join Michael Batts and myself. Fightlete.com will be there. Mayweather did great in his last exhibition. Hell, he beat the Big Show at WrestleMania. So, only can imagine what he could do against Jake Paul, the infamous YouTuber, Sunday night. Be there.